focus in as we're doing the drills. So I'll go ahead and introduce these guys. This is Derek Williams. He's a mile steeplechase athlete for us this year. And Andrew Tuck, who's a hurdle jump athlete for us as well. So we'll get a little bit different perspectives from a distance athlete and a track and field. So the first thing we do with our athletes is we want to get them in a good running position. So the first thing I ask them to do is to stand as tall as they can. Okay. What we're looking for is neutral pelvic position, kind of belly button forward. Okay. And we're not going to break at our hips or our knees at any point in us doing the drills. Okay. So we'll be nice and tall. Then I'm going to have them lean forward a little bit until they can feel the weight just behind the ball of their foot. One thing to really keep in mind here is we don't want to be on our toes. We're not on our toes. We want the weight to be just behind the ball of our foot as we're moving through these, okay? So we're going to look for this position. Their heels just off the ground. They're nice and tall. The weight's behind the ball of their feet, and they're going to stay in this position the whole time. Tall is good, as you guys remember on the PowerPoint. Hip height is a good thing to allow us to clear our foot underneath this and put our foot down in the proper position, okay? So, and also, one thing we're going to look for as we start moving through, and I'll have these guys show, is our foot to be dorsiflexed. So why do you guys get in that good position? So dorsiflexed, okay, good. So our toe is up towards our knee, and if we do it correctly, the athlete should feel in their anterior tib here it being nice and tight the whole time. What will happen as they start to do the drills is sometimes they'll get what we call plantar flexion, where their toes down, and that's not ideal at all. We want to be in dorsiflexion. So we're looking for this position right here, okay? So as you're going through watching your athletes move, you want to make sure they're in the right positions the entire time. All right, with marching, this is our least dynamic drill. We're really focused on a couple of things. Contacting the ground behind the ball of our foot, not on our heel. To be in neutral core position, make sure your athlete's tall, they're actively pulling their heel towards their rear end, and they're moving their arms and legs in a motion just like running. Now we move into retro walk, which we use to reset our motor pathways for our foot contacting the ground. We want to make sure that we're nice and tall, we're in neutral core position, and really that we're not going to bend at our waist at all. We want to be belly button first and really reach back. So we're looking for arms and legs to move like normal, heel towards our rear end, and then to reach back and put our foot down on the ground with the weight right behind the ball of our feet. Knee pulls, we use these as dynamic stretches. So really it's just kind of what it looks like. Same thing, nice tall position. We're just trying to pull our knee to our chest, kind of let everything relax a little bit. And we do that same thing with the hip pulls as well. Here you'll see Derek doing the hip pulls. And this way we're going to kind of turn our foot in, and we're trying to get maybe to more of our piriformis and some of those ancillary muscles in our rear end. Just try to wake those muscles up and loosen them up a little bit before we run. Moving into A-skip, we're doing identical movement to marching. It's just more dynamic. So you see those guys skipping down there, arms and legs just like running, contact the ground with the ball of our foot, and this should be perfect. Eyes up, nice and level. A-skip cross arms, you can see we do the same motion, but we're crossing one arm over the other as we go along. We kind of alternate, and this is to loosen up our shoulders and give us a little bit different range of motion in our upper body to kind of get ready for running. B-skip's the same as A-skip almost everywhere, other than we're going to drive our foot into the ground and be much more active. You should hear your athlete's feet as they hit the ground. Passive up, dynamic down. Really drive your foot through. Ankling is one of my favorite drills. You can see we're just going to pull our heel just over our ankle for 5 meters, over our calf for 5 meters, and then over our knee, and just kind of go through the full range of motion. Small, then medium, then big. Retro runs are a more dynamic version of retro walking. Same mechanics, nice and tall, heel to our rear end, and really reach and reprogram that motor pathway. Butt kickers are a little bit different than the old ones in that we're trying to pull our heel to our rear end with our hip flexor and then run out of it. So you'll see here, straight up and down, lean forward, roll, and then we run and transition into running. quickly start the same position, but you can see we're really going to try to go as fast as we can and then transition to running to try to fire our neuromuscular junctions and our hamstrings and those kind of things and recruit more muscle fiber. So this first static core drill we're going to do is front plank, and we use a med ball. You can use whatever you want. You can do it on the ground, do it on your elbows. We typically do this because as we get more dynamic, it allows us space to clear our knee as we move. Okay, but the first position we're going to be in here, and we want to have that neutral core position, as you can see there on both Derek and Andrea. Okay, and the easiest one is right underneath their shoulders, just like this. Okay. So this would be, and hold this until they kind of shake. It can be 15 seconds, it can be 45 seconds, a minute, whatever, okay? One thing we can do to make it a little bit more dynamic is, as we stay in this position, nice neutral core, is we're gonna have Andrea pull her right foot up, hold it for a second, push it back, left foot up, hold it for a second, push it back, good. And what we're looking for here is for our hips to stay level this way, and for us to stay in neutral position. Okay, perfect. So now we have Derek in the same position, okay? And what we're going to do is have him make it a little bit more difficult. So one thing you can do is, before we even make it more dynamic, is you can make the static one more difficult by just rolling the ball a little ways from your hips. Okay, the farther out in front of you the ball gets, the more difficult. Okay, so this is a much more difficult position here to hold. And then on top of that, we can also make it dynamic by having Derek roll his legs up like Andrea did and hold it in that nice neutral position. Okay. Perfect. One thing I want to add to this is this gets to our iliopsoas muscle, which is really important for us holding that core neutral position, and it's a hard muscle to get to. Okay, so now the one we're going to talk about is side plank. We're really trying to get to our oblique muscles to help our core as we load unilaterally keep going like this, right? We want to be level, so this helps there. So what we're really trying to do is push our top hip up, okay, and hold that, and you should feel the lower core really static. One thing we can do to make this a little bit more difficult is we can then hold this position and take our our top leg, I shouldn't say right leg, our top leg, and cycle it through like we're running while we're doing this, okay? And that'll make it more difficult. You can also add weight. This one we call the reverse hamstring curl on the physio ball. And what we're trying to do with this one, and probably the easiest one to start with is, before we even move the ball at all, is just to hold this static position. So we're looking for the same thing we were looking for before. Nice neutral core position, okay? And you should really feel, they should really feel themselves working in their glutes and their lower back and their rector spinae to hold that position. And we're really thinking belly button first, okay? It's gonna be really important for this. Keep that belly button up all the time. What we wanna get away from is, if your athletes cannot hold this position, they tend to get here and they start to break, and that doesn't really help you. Okay, so we need to make sure we stay in this position with our belly button first. Okay, now first thing makes it more difficult. Okay, we have the athletes pull the ball to their heels to the rear end, and you can see as we're holding this position nice and neutral, and they can roll it back out again. Okay, we might do sets of 10 to 15 of those. You guys do a couple more. Go ahead and show them. Okay, good. And if you get your athletes get really strong, they can actually do it with one leg, which is pretty difficult. It's hard to balance too. So this is reverse hamstring curl on the physio ball.
Is the floor bridge. This one's pretty simple, but one thing that we really have to keep in mind is our hip position, because it's really easy to cheat on this one if you don't have good hip position. So going to the hip position, we're gonna look specifically at the arch in our back. So if you make your arch really big, that's too much arch. All the way down, it's too flat. So you want to find something right in the middle there. So before you even go up in the air with this, you want to find that neutral pelvic position. And then from there, what I think about is somebody pulling a string up from my belly button. So I apply force from my heels, string pulls up from my belly button, I go up in the air about a fist off the ground or so. Okay, once your athletes get this down, then you can make it more difficult by lifting one leg. So if I want to lift my left leg, I'm gonna squeeze my right glute really hard, pick up my left leg, making sure this hip, the left hip doesn't drop. And then switch. Done.
Well, I hope you guys liked our video. We took the drills that we thought were developmentally appropriate for high school, maybe upper junior high school age athletes, and put those together. Obviously there's more of those and some are more dynamic and there's more static core things, but that should be kind of the infrastructure of what you need to do to get going. So a couple more points to talk about, is make sure you're in good positions. We're nice and tall. We're loading with the weight right behind the ball of our foot, hopefully as close to our midline as possible. We just stay in those good positions all the way through as you're doing those, and hopefully you can find a way to work those into your drills, into your warm-up. What we do with our distance athletes here is we make that part of our warm-up, those dynamic drills every single day. And we do it at least on the hard workout days, so we have some sort of routine and system as we go through the season with the warm-up, getting our bodies ready and in good positions to run fast. So hopefully that does a decent job of showing you what they look like, describing them. If you have questions, feel free to email me or give me a call. Appreciate you guys coming to the clinic, and good luck with your seasons. Hope you stay healthy and do well.